Animal tissues. Animal tissues are mainly four types: epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, connective tissue, and nervous tissue. Epithelial tissue mainly for covering and protection of body parts, muscular tissue for the movement, connective tissue to connect various organs, and nervous tissue for sending messages. Now we will discuss about epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is a covering or protective tissue in animals. It forms the outer covering like skin, outer covering of organs, inner lining of blood vessels, lungs, esophagus, etc. Epithelial tissue subdivided into squamous epithelial tissue, columnar epithelial tissue, cuboidal epithelial tissue, glandular epithelial tissue. This is based on the position and their function. Okay, so squamous epithelial tissue, it consists of a layer of thin flat cells. It is present in the lining of blood vessels, lungs, mouth, esophagus, etc. The skin has several layers of epithelial cells. This tissue is called stratified squamous tissue. Coming to the columnar epithelial tissue, consists of tall pillar-like cells. It is present in the walls of the intestine. The columnar epithelial tissue in the respiratory tract has head-like projections called cilia. This tissue is called ciliated columnar epithelial tissue. Next, cuboidal epithelial tissue. It consists cone-shaped cells having a basement membrane. It forms a lining of kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands and provide mechanical support. Next, glandular epithelial tissue. Sometimes epithelial tissue folds inwards and forms a multicellular gland which secretes substances. This tissue is called glandular epithelial tissue. So this is the position of epithelial tissue. For example, if we see in lungs, simple squamous epithelial tissue, and in intestine, simple columnar epithelial tissue. Now coming to the muscular tissue. Muscular tissue consists of elongated cells called muscle fibers. It contains a protein called contractile protein, which contracts and relaxes and helps in movements. Muscles which can move under our will are called voluntary muscles. Muscles which do not move under our will are called involuntary muscles. Muscular tissue again subdivided into striated muscles, unstriated muscles, cardiac muscles. So first we see that striated muscles. So striated muscles are voluntary muscles having light and dark striations. The cells are long, cylindrical and are multinucleated. They are also called skeletal muscles because they are attached to the bones. They help in voluntary movements of the body. Example, walking, running, etc. Unstriated muscles. These are involuntary muscles having no striations. The cells are long and spindle shaped and are uninucleated. They are present in alimentary canal, blood vessels, bronchi of lungs, iris of eye, etc. Mainly they help in involuntary movements. Next, cardiac muscles. These are involuntary muscles having faint striations. The cells are long, cylindrical, branched and multinucleated. They are present in the heart and helps in the contraction and relaxation of the heart. So this is the location of cardiac, skeletal and smooth muscle. See, if we see these cardiac muscles present in heart. See, skeletal muscle, it is in hand here, and in stomach the smooth muscle cells. So in the stomach the involuntary movements, whereas in here hand voluntary movements, whereas in heart involuntary movements. So these are the cells of muscles. Next, connective tissue. Connective tissue connects and joins the different parts of the body. The cells of the connective tissue are loosely packed and the space between the cells are filled with a jelly-like matrix. So connective tissue consists blood, bone, ligament, tendon, areolar tissue and adipose tissue. So blood contains a fluid matrix called plasma, which contains red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. The blood transports gases, digested food, hormones, waste materials, etc. Bone is a hard and strong tissue. It consists of cells which are embedded in a hard matrix containing calcium and phosphorus compounds. Bone forms the framework of the body and supports the body and the main organs. Ligament are flexible tissue which joins bones together and helps in movements. Tendons are fibrous tissues which joins muscle to bone and help in movement. Whereas areolar tissue, it fills the space between skin and muscles, inside the organs, around blood vessels, etc. It helps to repair the tissues. Adipose tissue is found below the skin and between internal organs. It contains fats and helps to store fats. So these are the components of blood. See, red blood cells, and these are all white blood cells. And this is a tendon which binds muscle to bone. And this is a ligament which binds bone to bone, which binds bone to bone. So these are the structures of connective tissue. Now, finally coming to the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue helps to carry messages from one part of the body to the other and responds to stimuli. It is found in the brain, spinal cord and nerves. It consists of nerve cells called neurons. So, a neuron, if we see the structure of neuron has a cell body containing a nucleus and cytoplasm. See, this is the nucleus and cytoplasm. It has hair-like structures called dendrite and a long part called axon. And the axon has a protective covering called myelin sheath. This is the outer protective covering. The neurons are joined together to form nerve fibers. The junction between two neurons is called synapse. So here it is a synapse. The two neurons are joining.